Welcome to MindShifters Radio, and today is Monday, August the 3rd, 2026. And welcome to the show. Welcome, Susan. Welcome, Kerry. Welcome, Michael.
Thank you, dear heart, and welcome, everybody. Delighted that you're here and checking in. How are you today, Kerry?
I'm doing really good, thank you. Thanks for asking. Are you still in Missouri?
At HeartLand, I am.
Oh my gosh.
I may get out of here tonight or tomorrow, hopefully at the latest.
So did you accomplish everything that you thought you would?
Well, that depends on whether I got out here tonight or tomorrow.
Oh, okay. Well,
I'm getting close.
that sounds good. I'm glad.
Working on it and getting close.
Yeah. So is there any chance of it reopening again?
Working on it, working and moving in that direction. There's some conversations going about kind of a cooperative process happening. I don't anticipate I'm ever going to live here again, with the fact that we're so involved in our grandbabies' lives.
Right.
I see a cooperative venture happening where someone else is going to run the operation, and we'll have probably a month each year to do intensives. And so the vision will carry on and carry forward and carry the work on and rock and roll. So that's kind of where we're at.
Yeah, because I mean, there's also an opportunity when you say that, for other groups to rent out the space for their retreats.
It'll be interesting to see how it all unfolds.
Yeah, well, good. I'm glad to hear that your labor of love is almost done there.
Yeah, I'm ready to get home. I'm ready to get home.
I haven't seen him in 5 weeks.
Oh my gosh. That's a long time.
Yeah. So anything exciting in your world?
I don't know if did I tell you about a fear dream that I had about a week ago, 10 days ago?
No.
So I don't ever remember in my entire life having a nightmare. I just don't remember that. And all the years that I kept dream journals, I never had a nightmare. And about, I don't know, a week, 10 days ago, I had a nightmare, I guess. And I think it was showing me my fear. So it was, just to be very brief, it was some men about to attack me and other people doing horrible things. And I woke up like wide awake, and I don't know if I was dissociating or I don't know what to call it, but in my mind, I had no fear, yet I was watching my body go through this intense fear. I was paralyzed by fear in my body. And I was like, oh my gosh, what's this? Why is my body like this? Because I'm not, it was a residual from the dream. And it was like all my nerve endings, everything. It was like intense fear, yet I was just watching my body in this intense fear. So I thought, okay, I'm wondering if on some level, because I have not, unlike probably 85% of the people on this planet, I have not had a trauma-filled life or any, particular trauma besides a divorce that I can attribute to this level of fear response. So
sounds awesome.
Yeah, so I thought, okay, this is showing me, and And you know what I love about dreams is the subconscious showing you what you need to work on, really. And so anyway, I had an appointment with my doctor who does, he does all this muscle testing and everything. And I said, could you muscle test me for where this fear is coming from? And he did. And he said, your fear is genetic, it's ancestral, this fear that you have. So I'm going to work on that. I already started doing a little journaling. I did a constellations workshop with my grandmother, but I think I obviously need to do some more work, because one of the things that you talk about when you talk about, healing, is healing through the generations. And I really got to see, when he said that, I was like, oh yes, that really resonated with me. And I was like, I can heal this generational fear that's showing up in my body.
So do you remember? Go ahead.
So I'm excited to do some work.
Oh,
Yeah.
remember the first line in the Power Person Worksheet?
No, say it to me again.
To become the thinker apart from the thought, the feeler apart from the feelings, the actor apart from the actions. And I'd offer that what your body just told you is that you have a generational power person dynamic, and your nervous system says, okay, we got the strength, we got the power, we're now ready to deal with it. So
yeah,
it's
that's
starting to be
right.
shown. So I dig out the Power Person Worksheet
Yeah.
and start looking at all the dynamics that might be going on and come out the other side. That's awesome.
Yeah, so I really think that's what this dream was doing. It was showing me I'm ready for this work. I'm unfurling another layer, if you will, another depth.
I'd say absolutely. That's awesome. Congratulations.
I was curious, though. I was still linking it with, it wasn't monsters, it was men, and I was like still linking it with the patriarchy. I was like, I've done so much work on that, on healing that, and I was like, well, there's more here.
So now your body's ready to deal with it. That's awesome.
Yeah. So one of the other things that I in order to get out of it, I managed to just sit up in bed, and then it went away. And I thought later, damn, why didn't I breathe through that?
Yeah.
I was like,
That's it. There's where the healer is.
I was like, why?
The reason you didn't breathe through it is because your body was in sympathetic dominance and your mind wasn't quite strong enough to overcome that energy. So now you know. And so I'd be inviting the dream back, invite the whole issue to come back, do the Power Person Worksheet, do worksheets around it, and you're going to sail to the next level. Cool. And Susan is in the middle. I'm not sure whether you're with us Friday or not. I don't remember, but Susan has started into the Power Person Worksheet, and we're going to continue that today. So.
Yeah, I don't know if it was Thursday when she started or Friday. I know she got to number. Yeah. I know when I listened, she got to number 6, and then I don't think I was on Friday, right. So she's probably farther along. But yeah, I'm very excited.
Well, congratulations, holding the space.
Thank you.
That's awesome. Yay, nice. Breathing with you, breathing, all the way in. Let the breath go right down to your genetic toes. There is one healer in the universe, and it's not a man. It's the breath of life. And without it, healing's tough to come by. Repair the body can happen. The body knows how to do that automatically. It's been programmed for that. There are corrective measures in it, but repairing is not healing. They're two different things. So holding the space.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Delighted. Fabulous. And Miss Susan, how are you today?
Oh my gosh. I want to just touch on a couple things Kerry said. So first of all, the body is a healing device of the mind. That's our learning device of the mind, not a healing device. And it could be a healing device. That's a good way to say that. So when we are, and exactly what Kerry's saying, you know, when we came in as souls into this physiology where love has been constricted and didn't get to flow, she was in her higher self observing this happening in the body, and in curiosity of love didn't get to flow around the patriarchy. And it's very interesting, Kerry, because when you were speaking about it, Michael has said this to us before. We were the ancestors, and we're now cleaning up at the effect of our ancestors. And this question came in: what if you were a part of the patriarchy in your history, in other lifetimes, for whatever reason? That's to
Oh
be
yeah,
brought
I have thought of that many times. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I can feel energetically that dropped in as you were speaking. So I would love to see you as I'm going through this. And we just started it on Friday. I would love for you to pull the workbook out, because I believe it's not by accident that this came forward. And the work we're doing is not just for ourselves and our family lines, it's for the collective. And so much happened this weekend was so intense. And I know I'm not just, I know I want to clean this up. I know this work is being done for my ancestors, for descendants to come, and for humanity. And wow. And I did a lot of worksheets around control, and it ended up coming so many around rejection, powerlessness, hopelessness, helplessness. My mother survived the war as my father did. And all these patterns were coming front and center. Also my own childhood and being powerless, helpless, hopeless. And it was really hard. It was really hard this weekend. And I thought, oh my God, I said, God, you have to be with me. I'm not going to get through. I really said, I'm not going to get through this. But the best part, guess this is the grace of the whole weekend, is I was my own secure attachment. And when unmet attachment needs were present as a child, there was nowhere to rest into, to reach and to receive. In my journey, that was unavailable. And so I learned to be avoidant and just be on myself and try to figure it out, and all these solutions. And I was going through it this weekend. I got to hold on to myself. Those parts of me could reach into me, and even the ancestors, what this physiology is clearing, and I could hold it. So that is so new. That is so new for me to be able to be my own secure attachment. And also it's going to be the secure attachment for the ancestors. And even what you're saying, Kerry, this energy where the constricted mind energy is bound in the nervous system, in the DNA patterns over generations, maybe from the beginning. And your willingness as an ancestor to step into that role and just be present. And the other thing that came really clear this weekend, like so much is happening, is I had a tendency to be object referred, always looking to the outer world for validation and support, not support, but validation that I'm worthy and I'm valuable, all those things. And my mind tends to go to look experience of the future, what's coming, or not so much I would say in the past anymore. It might be running in the nervous system, but a lot about the future. And I realized there's only this moment, and it's going inside. And so my body has tension in certain areas, and I just keep pulling myself with my breath back to the experience, what's happening in my inner plane. And I just come to the breath, and it is the marriage with the breath. The Holy Spirit and I are one, or when I say the breath, or Rukha as the breath, and I are one. And anytime my mind wants to kick me out of my inner plane to the outer plane of object referral, I call myself back and come back into self-referral, because the relationship is with me and the divine. And as I proceed in every moment, I just allow with the breath, this is what will be the revealer of my next step, moment by moment. So it was a lot. It was a lot this weekend, and lots of revelations happening. So I just wanted to share that. And if anyone had any questions before we continue on the Power Person Workbook. And I really would encourage anyone, if they have a big rock to deal with, and for those that weren't here on Friday, I chose and maybe didn't listen. And also my apologies for Friday with all the paper rustling. I put headphones in now, so you won't hear that, and it should be clear in the recordings. If you have a big rock,
You're innocent.
yes, thank you. If you have a big rock that's existing in you that's wanting to be liberated and transmuted, this is a beautiful opportunity, because when two or more are gathered, the Christ is present. And the great revealer is with us, I assure you, with the breath, but also with this level of support and the souls that we are and the work we've done. We can move mountains. So and if you find there's resistance to workbook, that's coming from an ego mind, and because the ego wants us to be in separation. So my statement, I'm using myself, I'm working on myself, is who my object.
We hold for just a second.
Sure.
Kerry, are you up for MindShifter? Hello, Kerry.
Hello. Yeah, sorry. I was walking around. Had to get to my
Okay.
phone.
So you up for a MindShifter?
Yeah, I've got a pen here.
Okay. It's safe and healing for me to admit that I am the patriarchy. And I now take responsibility for and forgive as to every atrocity I have ever committed against women.
Everybody breathing.
Okay, thank you.
And can we add children to that too, please, at the end?
Of course.
So to
Oh, yeah.
yeah, to add children.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah, and everybody
We
just
could-
really breathe.
and-
I can feel it. I can feel it. It's
And
really
of course, it's always smoke and mirrors and add self as well. Because remember, every atrocity it looks like we commit against someone else, I get the original. They just get the carbon copy.
Okay, so I put against women, children, and self.
Hey. How's your breath moving with that thought?
I'm good. It's moving.
Awesome. Oh,
Yeah,
holding the space.
because I'm very aware of the oneness, and I remember years ago when I first had that thought. Many years ago, when I first had the thought that I have been part of all of everything that happens. And I can't just take pleasure in all the so-called good things that I've done. I also had to accept responsibility for everything that goes on in the world. Because if we have unity consciousness, if we have oneness consciousness, we have to understand that we're part of all of that, even though this personality and this ego called Kerry hasn't participated like that. It doesn't mean that I can abdicate that responsibility. Plus, you know, another thing that struck me about your teachings too, Michael, was that even the smallest irritation is no different. And it's not just your teaching, I think it's Course in Miracles.
Right out of the Course.
Yeah, even the
Smallest
smallest
irritation covers the deepest rage.
Yeah, so a small irritation, it's not the same as an act of murder or abuse or something. However, it does have the same effect on myself. It's a disintegrative energy, is what it is. And so I've long realized about taking that responsibility. Thank
So
you.
are you open to some feedback?
Sure. My language.
No, nothing on your language. Just when you spoke of it, patriarchy, and each time I've heard you speak of it, while I hear your head saying, "Oh yeah, I know I'm responsible for everything," blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
My offering would be there's probably still some denial to be overcome there, because when you said, the patriarchy, it didn't sound like, and I'm part of it. It sounded like the patriarchy that's out there that's out to get women or out to get us. So I'll just give you that feedback. It may or may not be accurate. That was my sense of it. And so there's probably another piece of denial that's ready to open, and some surprises might pop big time.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that's why this is coming up. Why
I
this
could
whole
feel
thing is
that
coming.
also, Kerry.
Perfect dream.
Yeah.
Being in the energy right now also, because, for those of us that are on the spiritual path, and we have a high, I want to say spiritual awareness, where we can go up and know the truth on the spiritual level, and we can be there, but it isn't embodied in certain experiences where love is not yet flowing, or love is, I want to clean that language up, where love has been constricted. So there's an element, what Michael's saying is the blockage of truth with that, and in denial, dissociated from that. And your dream, I sense, is showing you what the physiology is doing, and yet just even how you communicated it here, you were an observation from the soul or spirit looking at what the body's experiencing. That's showing you the disconnect. That's a clue right there. You're in separation. There's no feeling. There's a numbness or just watching it. And once it's felt, for the embodiment of spirit and soul to incarnate fully, it's the purification of the physiology, so it then becomes one, and the liberation and transmutation occurs.
So I have this other teacher who's been teaching about the different heart layers. And there's 3 heart layers. We have our personal heart, we have our higher heart, and we have the one heart.
Yes.
And in the personal heart is where we keep in the back of the heart, we keep our defenses. And that's where we need to heal the cycles of betrayals and abuse within that heart layer. And once that's done, we can then move into this more 5th dimensional expanded higher heart more easily. So I think that's kind of, I feel that that's what I'm doing, that I'm moving into this higher heart practice as I go through all of this healing work that I've been doing with you, Michael, that the shadow work, all of that. that it's bringing me into this higher heart level.
You know, I was showing internally, so there's the right here, the sacred heart. That's the heart and soul resides here. And once this is purified enough and the soul resides here, the layering of energetic patterning that is yet blockage to truth resides here. The soul, that's why they call it the heart and soul, and the purification happens here. There's a key that exists here in the sacred heart when it's purified enough, which opens up to the higher heart, which is pink. We don't talk about it a lot in the chakra system, but it's a pink color. And that unlocks the gateway to do the connection between spirit and man. Once it's
That's
purified
right.
enough.
And that's what she calls the higher heart, which is this rose pink color.
Yes.
The personal heart. The personal heart is more of the emerald green color.
Yes. Yes.
And then the one heart is actually the highest frequency. It's more of a crystalline
Yes.
experience. So
That's
yeah.
So the merging of that, and it happens in stages. So no, every single person, it's based on and there's no judgment in this statement. It's based just on the purity of the heart and soul. And when the physiology is purified enough, because we all came as souls into these physiologies to help humanity ascend. Every single person on this call, as it took the heed and put her hands up that we were coming in at this time. And we knew we had to go into physiology where there's constricted mind energy that needed liberation in the family systems, because these particular family systems were holding a lot of darkness, and this needed to be liberated. And we're all over the world doing this in this earth plane. And we would have to climb ourselves through this process and the purification, staying conscious, active, and present. And thankfully, we found our way back to Rukha. And we have the support that is mirroring this back and bringing that. So we're connecting. And I keep going back to Terry's in his breath work, when he actually connected to the light of the ancestors in his physiology. That's what we're all doing. And it's going to be like a floodgate. Once there's enough clearing occurs, it's going to be like a geyser where the heart is purified enough, it pushes up and it unlocks enough that the high heart can open, and then the joining, the sacred union between spirit and soul occurs. So this is perfect that your dream is showing you that, Kerry. And as you walk through this next step.
I'm going to bring a language adjustment in,
Okay.
and a thought adjustment. The world is made Greek mythology, where I'd offer Yeshua would say that's all Greek to me, has made this big deal. Actually comes out of the Latin, but then it rotated, it went through the Greek as breath, or pardon me, as wind, the word that was used. And then the Latins turned it into spiritus. And when we talk about spiritual awareness, what I've observed is most people are still holding their breath when they're talking about that, because it isn't, you don't want spiritual awareness. You want breath awareness. You want to be able to keep your breath. You want to be able to keep your direct link to the shared breath with the Creator, whatever is going on in your world. And I'd offer that the whole language about spirit is a way of getting around that and not having to pay attention to the real deal. And the real deal is go to breath awareness, go there for revelation, and that's where direct knowledge will come from. It's not going to come from any kind of disembodied spirit or whatever one holds for that. It's not in the Aramaic. It's not part of the Aramaic. It is breath.
Okay, thank you for the cleanup. And what I was showing is the soul is around this, is all around this physiology. Energetically, it exists here. It's grand. So, we think the soul's in our heart, just a small piece. No, it's the other way around. We're the fractal, this little tiny fractal, and the soul is gigantic. Now, but for the soul, in its purity, to fully incarnate into the physiology, it must be purified. It's not going to go into a physiology where it doesn't have the vitality for its support, because the frequency is lowered and it can't be its true essence inside that physiology. So with what Michael's saying, the breath is our link This is the alignment that connects the physiology to the source, to soul, and to spirit. And it's staying, as I said earlier, just staying inside, self-referral, everything that arises, being and breathing on the inside, and using our feelings and using the feelings and the emotions of this physiology for cleaning to occur.
I have some thoughts. If I could share.
Hold on, Rex, please.
Sure,
Let's finish
you
this
bet.
conversation. So once again, we're not soul-based beings, we're not spirit-based beings, we're breath-based beings.
Mm-hmm.
When the original creation story in Aramaic speaks of how intelligence came into this dust body, it says the creator of breath breathed the breath of life, and that we became a thinking, speaking being. We are breath beings. And you watch people and they spend most of their lives not functioning as breath beings, but functioning as information-centered beings coming from carbon-based memory. And so
That makes a lot of
I
sense.
want to keep nudging us back to, no, I'm not a soul. I am a breath-based being that shares the breath of life with the creator. And when I stop doing that, I fall into this, what's called the ego state, the resistance state, Satan, whatever other terms. And it's the recouping of the connection to the breath, literally 1000% of the time. And noticing when there's a tendency to disconnect from it.
So the life force energy, and you see people with different degrees of life force energy. And when I was doing breath work, I could directly relate that to the quality and the strength of their breath. And some people found it very difficult to breathe deeply or regularly. And that I saw that fluctuation as well in their life force energy.
With you. Breathing with you. I had to do some breathing this weekend. One of the things that I came across in packing and unpacking and repacking and such things that I'm doing here at Harvey is I came across a big stack of my old worksheet. I started to go back and look through them, and I have some more worksheets to do. Go for it, Rex.
Thank you, Michael. Great conversation. I've been enjoying it. I had a couple things to add. It wasn't to change it at all. It was just to add to what we were sharing and some of the things I was hearing. I was hearing that as well, Michael. That was part of what I was addressing, that I wanted to address, is what quite often happens with a lot of the teachings that I've seen, that I have witnessed, is that we have a tendency in those teachings to accept the idea of separation, which a part of that idea of the concept of separation is to be a disembodied spirit. And that is, I think, at the crux of what we really need to do, and that is to embody this body. And how do we do that? It's with the breath, and it's with being in the body, being aware of what it is, and being sensitive to what's happening in the body, feeling wise, thought wise, emotional wise. But I'm none of those things. I'm a much bigger version than probably the very best version I can come up with, that I think I am, even more than that. And where I was kind of leaning toward in this conversation was, it's the judgments that we have, that we place on a thing, of making it a right or a wrong, versus two versions of right, one in alignment, one out of alignment, one in pure expression of being. A gas stand right there. Excuse me, I'm driving. Wow. I don't is big. Check that gas can and make sure it's somebody has the wherewithal to pick it up and move it out of the road. I'm watching a trailer in front of me drop a gas can out of the bottom of their trailer, and it just rolls out on the road and it's sitting in the road. So it's the judgment of a thing than making it right or wrong. And what I'm hearing you say, Michael, and you do this so consistently, and that is always bringing it back to, okay, breath. What's the breath do? For me, the breath brings me into my body. It brings me in awareness to what are my thoughts? What are my feelings? What are my sensory experiences I'm having? And where I've kind of moved away from the idea of that there's a soul that is a bigger part of me that is, but that's another version that I think that has been made up to perpetuate the idea that we're separate. And there's all these subtle things that have been handed down in the teachings that are about, not that they were intentional. I'm not suggesting that. It may have been. I don't know. It doesn't matter to me. Is it accurate and in full expression of being love, source, one, creator, fully embodied, or is it something else that I may have made up? So I appreciate you listening. It's helpful to verbalize it, but that's kind of my take on it currently. And I welcome any
Can I ask a
feedback.
quick question here?
But
I'm quite new to this breathing
please.
thing. You guys keep saying about coming back to the breath, and when you come back to this breathing thing, what is it that you are trying to get to? Hello? Have I lost connection?
Michael, are you on mute?
Excuse me, I was
Michael.
muted.
Michael
I'm
is
back.
muted. Okay.
Yeah,
Excuse me.
address that, Michael. I was pausing.
Okay. So, may I know who I'm speaking to? Is this
My
Raj?
name yeah, Raj. Yeah.
Okay. Nice to meet you, Raj.
And
Namaste.
can I be a bit honest with you guys here?
Please, be
I'm
totally.
more on Roy Masters of observing your thoughts, and not to go into the breathing or the feeling and all that emotional thing. And what the gentleman just mentioned about um, we are two parts. One's flesh and one is spirit. Okay, I mean, that's the way I see things. So I'm trying to figure out how you see that you are as one. I mean, we are as one, but one operates on a different dimension, which is the spiritual realm, which we can't see, but we are aware of it. We get a gut feeling. We get something that we can't touch physically or do anything physically, but it tells us, don't walk on this path. It might lead to something bad, or be aware of this person or something like that. You have this inner warning system, call it a spider sense if you want, that lets you know what's good for you and what's not good for you.
I would like to respond right now from personal experience to your question about what's the big deal about the breath. That's exactly responding to what you said. When I hold my breath, I am not any longer in my body. I have left my body. And you just mentioned we are the two, not me, not when I'm scared, which is anytime I'm thinking about what's the right thing to say, I hold my breath. I'm noticing now, after working with Michael intensely for 7 days, for 9 days, and also not enough here on these calls, I am becoming aware of my body. And as you say, the feelings in my body, the senses, and listening to it, but the breath will bring me into my physical form. Thank you so much for your question.
No
Michael.
problem. I get the physical
Thank you,
side.
Linda.
Well, how have you dealt with the spiritual side? Because all you've done is you've breathed, and it got you aware of where you are physically and emotionally. But what about the
Well,
spiritual side?
let me lay some foundation here, Raj. So
Thank you.
if you watch people, observe people in upset, disturbance, or trauma, one of the first things they do is they hold their breath. And my offering is that there are 3 levels of mental operation. There's been conversation so far in the show about the conscious and the subconscious, but there's a 3rd level of mind, and it's all one function. It's the function of the firing of brain cells. But my offering is the reason why people hold their breath when there's something that they consider to be traumatic in the external world, or something traumatic is coming up in them, is because they don't want to deal with, they don't want to feel what it is that's moving in them. So they cut the breath off. And by so doing, they create a barrier. The ancient teachings called it the veil of the temple. And it's an artificial barrier. I do not believe that you and I are designed to have an unconscious mind. We're designed to be conscious, subconscious beings. No reference whatsoever to unconscious. However, when we hold our breath, we create this unnatural, unconscious condition. And Carl Jung spoke about the operation of the unconscious, and here's what he says. Until the unconscious becomes conscious, it will direct our lives, and we will call it fate. And that barrier between the subconscious and the unconscious, I would offer, is built by holding the breath. If you listen to the average psychologist today, they'll say that 70, 80, 90, maybe as much as 98% of a person's so-called thinking is unconscious. Well, if 70, 80, 90% is unconscious, then what kind of power, what kind of energy are we unleashing into the world through our unconscious dynamics? And what my offering is that when you restore the breath, whatever has been hidden, in the ancient teachings, it said, the veil of the temple must be rent in twain. The veil of the temple is not a purple curtain in a church. The veil of the temple is the barrier between the subconscious and the unconscious mind. We have what we call this body, and of course, we know that the body doesn't exist really. All it is a piece of clay, it's energy. And the clay energy body has no intelligence of its own. It is organized, and you'll notice if you're 3 minutes without it, you're dead. That's how important it is. 3 minutes, maybe 5. On occasion, there's a miraculous something that happens to people, but 3 to 5 minutes without the constant influx of the organizing force and the power of the breath, and the body falls over dead. So I'll offer it's a very important part of the process. And when I'm holding my breath and something unconscious is moving in me, if I'll take a breath, 2 things occur. One, by adding the energy of the breath back into my physiology, I open whatever it is that I've been trying to hide from myself. And 2, I bring in the direct intelligence that the breath carries. I'd offer that what we call carbon-based memory, or the body, is just a piece of clay. That's all it is. It's organized, it's empowered by breath awareness. And it is the movement of the breath that brings love into physiology. In the Aramaic language, the word Satan has nothing to do with a dude with a red suit, a tail, and a pitchfork. The word Satan means the resistor, one who misleads. And you'll notice, and you can go back and listen to 1,000 radio shows, and whenever I get a sense somebody's holding their breath, I'll ask, and then I'll invite them to take a breath. When the breath is being held, people are out of touch with what's moving inside of them. And when you allow the breath to flow, not only do you become aware of what's hidden, you're opening the veil, you become aware, but you bring the healing force and the intelligence of the breath into physiology, and my offering is it's breath that delivers love on a tissue level. A life lived in held breath, which most of the world, you watch them, they subventilate, out of every 3 minutes, they might breathe for 3/4 of a minute. And they're creating this hidden part of the mind that then becomes the force that they draw in to remind them of what they're hiding from. And again, Satan means the resistor. When people do that for a long time, they go into physiological resistance. In Aramaic, Satan is physiological. And so if you work with the breath, and there's a particular process that I developed about 45 years ago, if you work with the breath, what you'll find is that when you can get the impetus of the breath moving at a high enough level, Satan is overcome. The resistance is overcome. And you watch the average person, and when they're in a conflict, and they're usually, when they're in a conflict, their conversation will be about somebody else. Yeah, well, when he did that, and then he did this, and then he did that, and the breath is being held the whole time. And that's the resistance that happens is a tightening on a physiological level, and then the body's mind, carbon-based memory, what was called the mind of man in the ancient teachings, makes up a story, and the story is usually about somebody else. When I stop in the middle of one of those stories and I allow myself to breathe, I'm restored to awareness of my own unconscious dynamics. I have the opportunity to directly interact with my own unconscious dynamics. And when I do, everything changes. That would be my offering.
Okay, I mean, that was quite a lot to take in, to be honest with you.
Yes,
But
well,
one thing
it's a
that
big
stood
question.
out-
It's a huge question you asked.
Sorry to interrupt. The thing that stood out for me was holding the breath. So I don't know the exercise itself, but when you hold the breath, are you not denying the body, the physical body, oxygen for it to do? Because if you don't get the breath, if you don't breathe in the oxygen, do you not start to what do you get a bit high, as it were, and you deny your brain, as it were, of any function? Or I don't know how it works, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I would offer that oxygen is certainly an important part of it. And in this culture, we've been taught to think of the breath as, well, you breathe and you get oxygen. If you don't breathe, and you don't breathe for a few minutes, you die. But what I'm offering is that we have a very small, tiny, limited definition of breath when we think of it in terms of getting oxygen. And my offering is that getting oxygen, and the oxygen keeping us alive, is about 10% of the definition of a breath, max of 10%. And the other 90% is left out of the equation. Oh, well, I breathed, I got oxygen, so now I'm okay. But my offering is that our definition is so limited. It's so devoid of the real meaning of the breath. The breath literally, I'd offer, carries intelligence.
Hey, sorry to interrupt again.
Go for it.
I don't want to miss this question that's in my head. This 90%, how do you derive that 90% of the breathing is not used? How do you get to that? Because I'm a bit...
I didn't say that.
Okay. So I misunderstood.
That's not my thought. You maybe are referring to what psychologists say. I had repeated what most psychologists will say is that 70, 80, 90% of our thinking is unconscious. And the reason I'd offer why they might come to that conclusion is because most people are holding their breath so much that they're functioning strictly from an unconscious level. When you breathe, you get to function from a conscious level all the time. And there's no way for me to explain this. Well, I can give you a couple of experiences. There's a gentleman, I'm at my teaching center right now for the first time in about 4 years, and There's a gentleman that I've worked with over the years here at HeartLand. He actually moved here and lives in this area because he came in and actually was on our support team for a couple of years. And I just reconnected with this fellow about 2 weeks ago, and he had come to an intensive 20 years ago that we did out west. And he had never shared this with me before, but when he came to that intensive, he came because a friend had been doing this work and suggested he come and invited him. And he had been having migraine headaches daily from the time he was 4 years of age. He was 40 when he came to that intensive. His last headache, his last migraine, was during his still point breathing session in that intensive. He hasn't had a headache. He's now in his early 60s. Now, I could go down a list of stories. I could tell you stories. People here could tell you their experience. But it's not a process of just, well, you know, I'm just going to breathe. There's a level. In Aramaic, there are 3 levels of breath. There's the breath that everything breathes. The dog, the cat, the fly, you and I all breathe. There's that level of breath. And then there's a second level of breath. It's a breath taken in an incoherent state, hostility or fear-based breath. And then there's a third level that in Aramaic was called Rukha. And that is a breath that's taken, engaging in it, the elemental force of the breath, that's taken in a connected space with love, or received in a connected space of love. And when one engages in Rukha, there is a factor there that I call the Dikudsha factor, that if you engage it sufficiently to overcome the resistance in your physiology, the veil of your temple, the barrier between the subconscious and the unconscious, will open, and you will start to become aware of things that you never imagined you ever held within you, both generationally and personally, until you started to engage in that Dikudsha factor. And it has to be a sustained breathing practice that takes that Dikudsha factor to a level that is stronger than the level of resistance. So if one's in a really high resistance state, it's going to take a lot of support for them to get that level of breath moving. And the average person is never going to do it on their own in the starting phase of doing it, because it takes support, it takes assistance to move the breath on that level, because most people have spent so much of their lives subventilating. And if they start to kick in that Dikudsha factor, the rest of the definition of the breath that the culture leaves out, then things are going to start to move in them that are beyond comprehension when they first experience it. I've created this still point breathing process about 45 years ago, and I have worked with people. I can't count how many people I've taken through the still point process, but it was about 2 years ago that I started to do a process called quantum still point, where I do one-on-one intensives with people, and there's some kind of intense energy field work that goes along with it. And when I did that process on myself, all of a sudden I realized that I had missed out all those years of working with people breathing. I didn't understand that it is the breath that, when it hits a high enough level of flow, reveals anything and everything that we need to know, and anything and everything that we've hidden from ourselves. And it literally, on a physiological level, breath is to trauma what heat is to water. If I have some water in a kettle, it sits there on the stove, nothing's turned on, and it sits there, it's just water. If I add heat to that water, I'm going to agitate the atomic structure of the water, and when it gets hot enough, that atomic structure is going to be so agitated that the atoms of the water are going to start to be free flowing and set free. And ultimately, we say the water boils away. That's due to the addition of heat. Now, if I reverse that, if I take that pan of water and I start to take heat away from it, I put it in the freezer, and I withdraw heat from it, its atomic structure slows down, slows down, slows down, slows down until it becomes what appears to be a solid physical substance, ice. If I add heat back to that ice, it'll turn to water. If I keep adding heat to that water, it will turn to steam. In precisely the same way, heat or breath does the same thing with trauma. You watch people in trauma, the little kid, you know, how many people have you heard? In the work I do, I hear it all the time. Oh yeah, my mother used to tell me that I'd hold my breath until I turned blue when I was a little kid. People hold their breath, and when they experience a trauma, you look at the average person, what do they do? That's the response. And that response is resistance and shuts down sensation, but it also shuts down the flow of energy. And so extracting the breath, literally, just like taking away heat from water, it becomes solid. Trauma becomes locked into physiology. When I add the breath back, I add the breath back, I add the breath back, and I add the breath back. When I hit that level where that Rukha factor kicks in, then literally the trauma, in the terms of our analogy, boils off.
I understand. Well, I don't really understand, but I get the gist of where you're driving. I mean, from where I'm coming, the truer question I've been asking is the spiritual side, because all you mentioned is to do with the physical side and the
Oh, no,
unconscious
no, no, no,
side.
no, no. No, I'm not talking about the physical side. I'm talking about the trauma that people engage in. The little kid who held their breath until they turned blue was holding their breath until they turned blue because they just got hit by big brother or by dad or screamed at by mom or put down by big sister. I'm
Yeah,
talking
that's
about
trauma.
the trauma
Yeah,
that becomes
yeah.
physiological, and the breath locks it into tissue.
Well,
And
can
so
we
the
just go?
reapplication of the breath is what loosens the trauma and frees us from it.
Okay, let's reverse this then. The trauma that this kid went through at the point of when he started, when he was a kid, to shut the memory down to the fear factor and all that, he
Right?
would have created some sort of mechanics in his head to stop the trauma from taking him away totally, as it were, into a more darker side. So he would have created a memory or some form or something. Now, 20 years later, the, let's say someone like his dad with a bat and everything looked exactly like that and just raises their head and he's about to get hit. And all that stuff that he had happened 20 years ago that he got past over
Right?
his teens and so on. He got past that and he was feeling good and he was, let's say he was mended. But the moment this thing that came back, it took him back to when he was
Right.
a kid.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Now that
And
that
and if
trauma, now I'm just gonna just quickly finish this. That trauma got filed away in the back of his head until certain criteria is met, and they ignited that and opened up the filing cabinet and took out the file
absolutely.
that started the whole trauma. Does that make sense?
Well, no, it didn't start it. It simply brought it back to awareness. When
Yes.
he was 4 and it happened originally, he held his breath till he turned blue and locked it into physiology. My offering is if his, let's say mom had walked in the room at that moment and walked over to him and said, "Son, here, let me lay beside me. Let me hold you and breathe with me. Let's just breathe through this." Then 20 years later, that trauma would not have been there to be reactivated in that young man by a similar circumstance. But it was locked in by the holding of the breath. And again, I'll repeat Carl Jung, probably the most famous, or at least in the top 2 or 3 psychiatrists in all of history. Until the unconscious becomes conscious, it will direct our lives, and we will call it fate. The breath is the way that we create a false condition called an unconscious mind, which is why those memories can be recalled, because they're hidden away in the unconscious. He's pretended for 20 years, no problem. I got nothing. I got nothing to deal with. Everything's fine with me, until something came to resonate that. Now, if again at 20, if instead of going into tears and holding his breath again, someone were there with awareness and said, "Son, here, you look like you've got some trauma coming up. Come, breathe with me. Lay down. Let me do some energy field work on you, and let's just really move your breath, and let's move through this." He'd free himself of that trauma. Again, as the young man that I just spoke about, 40 years of migraine headaches. Last headache was in his last breathing session. And that's the power of the breath. And as I say, when we think of breath as, oxygen or not, or medically, we're looking at about 10%. It's the analogy I would use is thinking about the breath as just being about oxygen, keeping the body alive because it's got oxygen, or the body dies because it doesn't, would be like having a Ferrari and not understanding what a Ferrari is. One has ever only have driven a Volkswagen, so they get in it and they drive it just like a Volkswagen. Well, see, I got another Volkswagen. No idea what power's there. That's the comparison. The Volkswagen is about the 10% definition of what a Ferrari is, and the world's normal definition of breath is about 10% of the power and the capacity and the organizing force that it really is, would be my offering.
Can I add one thing, Michael?
Please go for it, young lady.
I just wanted to say, because you were asking Raj, that we're doing all this physical clearing in the physiology, and then you said, where is spirit? And you did say, and we all know that we're operating in 2 minds. We have the ego mind that's operating, the non-being mind, and then we have the being mind, which the breath is the conduit. Rukha Takucha came in with us as the comforter. She is the breath. So when Michael speaks, how I take it in is that when I come to the present moment in my breath, I am in spirit. And spirit is the revelation, and it reveals wherever there's constricted mind energy in the physiology. If you can stay conscious, active, and present with the breath, then you will see what is in blockage to truth. And the breath is the gateway, the connector. She's the one that reveals. She brings what is untruth or what is a falsehood in the mind, and then she cleans that up using our mind. And
sorry, who is this she? I'm trying to work out
Rukha Takucha is the divine feminine force that's spoken about in the Aramaic Kaborius that Michael's teachings are based on. And if you went to his website and look at the worksheet, you'll see at the bottom of the worksheet it describes who she is.
You have a she god, is it?
It is. There is no he or she. I'm just giving reference because we're in a duality game here. It's so Rukha Takucha, and it just comes from Michael's worksheet.
Sorry, 1 minute.
Yeah.
What's this duality? I'm a bit confused now.
Duality, we're living in an ego, a non-being, and a being mind. We have duality in this plane where there's feminine, masculine aspects, negative, positive aspects. We live in a world where we are looking through the lens of duality. We have a left mind, we have a left brain and a right brain. We have a left side of the body, right side. So here,
I get all that. But yeah. All right. So the thing is, the spiritual side, majority of the humans do not let the spirit, the spirit needs to be fed. You do good stuff and you feel good inside and so on.
If you don't mind, Raj, I'd like to interrupt. If you don't mind, I'd like to give another perspective on that.
Can I just
in the Aramaic language?
Can I just give Rukha Takucha so he's clear what you've defined it as in the work? It's in the worksheet, just so you know, the work that Michael's work is premised on. So Rukha Takucha comes right out of the Aramaic Kaborius manuscript, and it is a feminine elemental force in humans that breaks off the effects of errors and reveals truth. A force for that which is proper for humans, the denial of which leaves me in unforgiveness. And it's the super processor that can reach through and heal all generations. That's the definition. And that Rukha Takucha is a divine feminine force. I just offer that.
And so to just take that to another level, in the Aramaic language that Yeshua spoke, when he spoke of Rukha Takucha, he was not speaking of anything to do with spirit or spiritual or a disembodied spirit or a ghost or a Holy Ghost or any of that. When his words, Rukha Takucha, were translated, and to me, this is, well, what I'm about to share is the most tragic linguistic tsunami, destructive force that has been unleashed on mankind since the beginning. And that is that when they translated, or pardon me, when they misinterpreted, there is no translation in Greek of Yeshua's words. There are misinterpretations, but there are no translations. So Rukha Takucha, Yeshua is talking about this elemental force of the breath, understanding that when it is applied, it undoes the energetic pattern stuck in physiology. The Greeks misinterpreted that word, and the word became, and you can just trace this back, pneuma, P-N-E-U-M-A, which means wind or air, getting closer to breath. And then the Latins took pneuma when they misinterpreted the Greeks, and they inserted the word spiritus. So now instead of breath, we've got this spiritus game happening. And now we've got a Holy Spirit. And people are so misled that literally at the moment of your birth, you were given the breath of life. And Yeshua taught the power of that and the whole definition of what that really meant. And the Greeks stole it by making it wind. And the Latins destroyed it by making it spirit. Anywhere you see in the scriptures, anywhere you see in the, let me just finish this last thought, and certainly, anywhere you see in the scriptures the word spirit, please substitute breath and you're back on track with the true teachings.
Yeah, I can see that as well. I mean, I don't deny that. I forgot the question I wanted to ask. You got to forgive me when I start interrupting, because my brain will keep that thought for a couple of seconds. And if I
Well,
don't interrupt,
Raj, I'll make a commitment. I'll make a promise to you. I will never forgive you for anything. If you do something that's off the mark, I might pardon you. And if what you do brings up something painful to me in me, then I'll apply forgiveness inside of me to change what's going on inside of me. Forgiveness has nothing to do with this. Is another bastardization of language that's happened out of the Aramaic. The Greeks misinterpreted the word forgive, and living in a world of blame, it's all everybody else's fault in the Greek world. Well, you did, I'm in pain, but it's all your fault. And seeing as how it's all your fault and you did this to me, I'll be big about it. I'll let you off the hook. I'll forgive you.
Oh, sorry, the thoughts just come back.
Complete off base. They've substituted Greek pardoning for forgiveness. So pardoning, let somebody off the hook, great. But if you call pardoning someone forgiveness, then you'll never go inside yourself and look for the root of your pain, breathe into it, and become freed of it, have it removed. The objective of this work is to get to the point where our physiology no longer contains any form of hostility or fear, but we're totally and completely freed of it. Then the created essence of life that we are, love, breath, is able to incarnate in this world. And that's where human life, I would offer, really begins.
So,
and I breathe with
can
you.
I ask the question now?
Go for it.
Okay,
Of course.
so
That's what we're here for.
trying to ask the original question when I forgot it. The question was the Kabbalah scrolls.
Yes.
They came out after Jesus, was it?
Yeah,
Or was it before Jesus?
it's the oldest known copy of the New Testament in its original Aramaic language.
Okay. So the things that are in the New Testament, where it talks about the Father, the Son, and the Spirit, they're all
He doesn't in Aramaic.
in the Aramaic language. It's all cobblers.
It's all what?
It's all rubbish. So in the New
You
Testament,
uh-huh.
because the other lady said that in that scroll it's a she god. So I'm trying to fathom this now because I'm getting a bit lost now. That Yeshua Christ, as you would call it, he said certain things, but when the way you guys are talking is to actually totally deny Christ.
Well,
Because he talked about the
if
Spirit. He talked about his Father in heaven.
sir, I'll offer. Please, I'm gonna ask you a question. I'm gonna ask you to do something now.
Go on.
Jump on AI and ask AI to tell you what Rukha means and who used the word in Aramaic. And then
Okay.
ask it then to tell you what the Greeks interpreted. They'll call it translated that word Rukha as. You'll find that it did not translate it as Yeshua did, as the feminine elemental force of the breath. You'll find that they translated it as wind. And then ask them what the Latins did with it, and they introduced the word spirit. Spiritus was their translation for that word. Interpretation. It's a totally false interpretation. It isn't there. I mean, you can jump online and you can do the research and look at what they call translations, and you'll go from Rukha to Pneuma to Spiritus. Spiritus is not in the Aramaic. It's not there. And nobody's denying Christ here. We're saying, here's how you get back to that mind. And what did Paul say? By the renewal of your mind. You've got to clean up this carbon-based memory mind that is born of error in order to make room for the Christ mind to show up in you. Christ in me, Christ in you, your hope of glory.
My understanding is you renew your heart, not the mind. The mind is the devil's playfield. This is where thoughts and everything comes into it.
So we're going to
Thoughts
throw
that
Paul
you
out.
never have, thoughts
We're
that
going
you
to throw
shouldn't
Paul
have.
out there.
Sorry?
We're going to throw Paul out then. Be renewed, or pardon me, be
Well,
transformed by the renewal of your mind.
he actually says that the things he wants to do, which is what the Spirit has asked him to do, he can't do because his mind wants to do the things he shouldn't be doing.
Yeah. Okay. I'm with you.
Yeah, I mean, so that's my understanding of
And
Paul.
so he knew that he had to transform his mind. He needed to heal his mind. And I'd offer that the mind is healed and transformed. The heart is opened by the flow of the breath of life, that which you were given in your nostrils the moment of your birth.
So the other side of this is also when Paul finishes that little thing that he talks about, he can't do the stuff. I think it's in
Right.
Romans somewhere.
Yeah.
Romans
Why is
7.
the things I would do, I cannot do? Yeah.
But the verse 20 actually it says that I think the verse 20 says that it is not I who do it, but the thing that has made a
Christ in
home
me.
in him that is
Yes.
doing it. So that's the
And
ego state, the pride, whatever you want to call it. So that thing is the very thing that lives within us that's doing
yes.
it.
And what Yeshua said in his original language is that which moves within us is Rukha Dukudsha, the breath, not Latin spiritus. It's the breath.
Yeah, I'm not going to get caught up in words at the moment because I've got the main gist of what I need to do, and
Okay. Cool.
I'll look up the thing you've mentioned, and
Yeah,
I
check
think
it out.
Yeah, Sean's here, isn't he? He can help me out with this. What to look for and what not to look for.
Cool.
So my
And
sorry, I
here,
don't have much
here
time
I'm
left.
okay.
I'm sorry about this.
I'm putting into the chat room the spelling
Oh,
of
please,
Rukha
yes,
Dakucha.
yes. Let me copy and paste it on one of the browsers.
Yeah.
It's not a bad conversation, by the way. So, you know.
Well, we're here to open the space and learn.
Yes, definitely.
Hey, Raj, while you're doing that, it might be helpful. It was really helpful for me that if you take any time the word spirit is used in the scriptures that you're referring to, just insert breath and see if it changes your experience of it. And what
No,
I'm hearing Michael say,
actually, rather than just substituting the word spirit or breath, breathe. Actually, breathe.
yeah,
That's
breathe.
my.
No,
Yeah.
I get that, because when God created Adam, he breathed.
Exactly.
Into it. So I'm with you on that, guys. I have no qualms about it. Okay, I'm waiting for your spelling.
Yeah, just give me 1 second. I'm just finishing.
And if I may, while he's
There
doing
it is.
that,
Go for it, sweetie.
this is Jeanie.
Hello.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Yeah,
Great questions, by the
got a
way.
nice smile there.
Thanks.
I am blessed.
You are blessed, mate.
So, two things. One is I look at God the Father, God the Son, and the Holy Spirit or breath the same way as you do H2O, whether it's water, which is liquid, or ice, which is solid, or steam or vapor, which is like, spirit or breath. They're still all H2O, just in different forms.
Yes.
So if that helps on the Father, Son, and the Spirit, or
Oh, definitely. I get the trilogy as well on that aspect.
Right.
That they are a being of a different being, and one is the main is the Father, then you have the Son, the begotten Son, and then you have the Spirit. That makes things happen. That
Right.
work through
They
the
are
old prophets
all
and
the
so on.
same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
And
beautiful. I like the way
and
you
the
did that as well.
The other thing I wanted to throw out there is, like, especially in like Spanish or French, other than English, they have like, they'll either say, put a LA, like, La Casa. The LA is feminine, EL is masculine. That doesn't mean your house is a woman.
No.
If you say La Casa, that's saying the house. And so you're not saying that the house is a female, a woman, but it's a feminine aspect. And so when we talk about, that the breath or Rukha is feminine, we're not specifying, excuse me, whether God is male or female. It's just that aspect, that feminine aspect. I don't know if that helps.
it does. That's excellent, sweetie.
Yep, well said.
All right. Well, we are about 20 minutes over time. This has been great.
That's cool. So delighted and appreciate your questions. And please come back with every question you can bring to us. That's what we're here for, because that's how, in the ancient Judaic tradition, there was a thing called midrash. And midrash is exactly what we're doing right now, where we're sharpening our own understanding with each other, in cooperation with each other, in the breath of love. So that's what we're here to do.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much for your time and to explain what little I've got out of it. I'll try and understand a little bit more. I think Sean knows a lot more than I do, and I do speak to Sean now and then. So yeah, thank you very much. Thank you for having me. And what a nice smile, Jenny. He is a lucky man, by the way.
I'll tell you what, I just put another link in the chat room.
Okay.
You might
What
want
a-
to copy that link. This is Jeannie's book, Healing Generations, One Breath at a Time. And she read it, the whole book, on our radio show. And so if you copy that, you've got links to the reading of her whole book. And she goes into a lot of detail in regard to that. The whole focus is the healing power of the breath of life, the breath
Brilliant.
of the
I've got
Creator
it.
that was given to us from the beginning. So there's the whole book read to you on the radio show.
Thank you very much again. I've got to go now.
Absolutely delighted to connect.
Yeah.
Blessings, lots of love. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks everybody for joining us.